everyone, and welcome to how to build a dynamic budget using Microsoft Excel. So in this course, what we're going to be doing is creating a dashboard that will let us basically input and plug in numbers that will dynamically create your budget. This is an introductory course. We will have an advanced course after this, but let's start it off. Okay, so we want to build our dashboard view. So what we're doing right now is we're starting with sheet 1, and in sheet 1 we're going to create a background view of how we want our dashboard to look. So for example, if we want our dashboard to have a bluish background, a dark blue, we're going to select this background here, and this will be our main dashboard of information. So to start off, let's assume that we work, we have a salary, and let's assume that we have a tax rate that's applied to that salary, and we also receive a biweekly paycheck based on our salary. Most of the things that we go into in this budget are going to be taking on numerous assumptions that you can adjust to your own being. So we're also going to assume that we collect rent from a rental property. So we're going to categorize this as rental property. And for this example, we're going to say that we only have one property. So we're going to say property number 1 is what we'll call this. So from this property, we collect rental income on a monthly basis. So we're going to put down all the things that we can basically collect income from for the year. And that would also include a bonus, assuming that you're working at a company that provides you a bonus. Assuming you get a tax return and you're lucky enough to not have to pay taxes at the end of the year, then you would receive a tax return. And then we're going to basically total these amounts, and this will be our annual income. We also want to account for savings, so we'll put something aside for savings. So we're going to categorize this over here in cell A14. We're going to put down savings, and then we're going to put down a check to see whether or not our savings adds up. So we'll go more into detail into what that means. Okay, so let's say that overall we make $125,000 salary. So from this $125,000, we're going to assume that we are taxed at a rate of 30%. So we're going to put down 0.30. And then we're going to say that our take-home pay after taxes, we're going to say that it is going to be equal to our salary multiplied by 1 minus our tax rate, right? Because that would be 70%. So we're going to say 125,000 multiplied by 1 minus our 30% tax rate gives us a take-home pay of $87,500. In addition, we're going to say that our biweekly pay is going to be the $87,500 divided by 26. So that would give us, because we're getting paid biweekly. For the rental property, what we're going to say is that we collect, let's say that we collect $24,000 a year for our rental property. So that means that we collect $2,000 a month for this property. We're also going to assume that we collect a $10,000 annual bonus, and we're going to assume that we have a $5,000 tax return. So our total income, we're going to basically add together all of our annual figures and basically come up with our annual income. So for that, we're going to do in cell B12, we're going to do equals sum, open parentheses, we're going to highlight cell B10, comma, cell B9, comma, cell B7, comma, and cell B3. So that is going to give us $126,500 that we collect in annual income based on this scenario, right? We can adjust this scenario to many different situations. So from this 126,500, we're going to work off of that figure to build our budget, right? So we're going to create a header here that will basically make this we're going to separate this to be the location for our income. So we're going to have a section here for income. So I'm going to merge and center these cells, and I'm going to put in income. Okay. Now I also want to make sure that it looks like a dashboard, right? So I'm going to increase my font size. I'm also going to increase the font size of my total income, because I want to make sure that it stands out so that I can see, if I'm looking at this quickly, what my total income is. We're going to follow the same setup for expenses as well. Okay. So as we go, we're also going to create a view similar to income, but it's going to be specifically for expenses. So for expenses, we're going to see that we're going to create this merge and center option between columns E and G. So from E1 to G1, we're going to merge the cells, and we're going to label this expenses. I'm going to use my format painter to format my expenses. And now I'm going to basically start figuring out all the different types of expenses that we can have. So what we're going to do is we're going to say that we have living expenses, we have credit cards, these are all assumptions. We're going to say that we also have insurance that has to be paid. Let's assume that we either have a mortgage or that we rent. So again, this would be tailored to your own situation. Aside from the mortgage, the insurance, credit cards, living expenses, we're going to come up with figures for all of these things so that we can know exactly how to attribute all of our monthly, biweekly expenses to these categories. Okay? So aside from that, we will also have a section that is going to be pretty much labeled specifically for the mortgage. So for the mortgage, we're going to assume that we have a certain amount. We're going to assume a certain interest rate, and then we're going to assume how long the mortgage is going to be for, and then we're going to calculate our actual monthly mortgage payment. So in cell J2, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to number format, and I'm going to say that I have a mortgage of $250,000. So from this mortgage of $250,000, I'm going to say that I'm paying a 4.5% interest rate. So from this 4.5% interest rate, I'm going to say that the mortgage is a 30-year mortgage, which is typically standard. So we're also going to do the monthly payment. So we're going to do equals, and we're going to do negative PMT, open parentheses. We're going to highlight the interest rate and divide it by 12 because we want a monthly mortgage payment. We're going to take the 30-year term and multiply that by 12 because we want, again, a monthly mortgage payment. We're going to comma, highlight the mortgage amount, and then we're going to do comma 0. The reason why we did comma 0 is because we are assuming that our future value will be 0 because we don't want to have a mortgage amount any longer. Okay, so now in cell F5, I'm highlighting the mortgage payment and I'm going to multiply that by 12. So this is the annual mortgage payment amount that I'm going to be paying on an annual basis for my mortgage. In addition to that, I'm going to also set some money aside for special occasions. So aside from special occasions, there's numerous things that can fall into this category, right? So you can have birthdays, you can have holidays, you can have anniversaries, work functions, celebrations, etc. Numerous different things that can fall into that category. But you want to set aside some sort of money per month for that, right? So that's the main reason why we're doing that. Okay. So aside from our mortgage, living expenses, credit cards, insurance, and special occasions, we're also going to have other expenses. But for now, we're going to sum our expenses. So we're going to do equals sum, open parentheses, cell F8, comma, and then cell F2 to F5. So once we do that, we see that our current total expenses, I mean, obviously this will increase, is 15,200, but that's only taking into account the mortgage payment that we've plugged in. But there's also going to be other expenses that we're going to have, right? We also have to account for transportation. Let's say that we also use a car. There may be a car loan or a auto expenses that should be accounted for as well. Okay, so now we're just going to format these cells so that everything follows the same format, so that we're pretty clear on what is an annual figure and what are our total income and expense figures that we need to see anytime that we're taking a look at our dashboard. Okay. So in addition to our living expenses, we're going to account for something called utilities. So utilities, numerous things can fall into utilities. This can be your electric bill. This can be your gas. This can be your water and sewer bill. So as we continue to add more expenses, we need to take account of all these added expenses that we're adding in our total expense figure, right? So we need to make sure that our formula is constantly capturing any added expenses that we want to add, okay? So we're going to rename this tab to be dashboard. And from there, we're going to start building out our granular view of our budget. So we're going to label this budget breakdown. And once we do that, we'll take it into a deeper view of our data. Thank you.